Hey guys, Curtis Alexander. In this video, I'm going to tackle a viewer question, which is, can keto contribute to hair loss? Now, a funny video for a bald guy to be doing, but I was keto, I was carnivore, I was extremely low carb. I did it for over a decade. I did daily fasting for almost as long and experienced a lot of problems, one of which was accelerated hair loss. So in this video, I want to talk about what's going on in your body, if keto is the culprit, and things that you can do to tackle that. So let's hop right into it. So the first thing you need to understand is I say this a lot, and I have other videos that go over this process, but anytime you're doing something like keto, you're essentially eliminating one macronutrient or close to eliminating it in the form of carbs. You also aren't eating a decent amount of protein in most cases if you're sticking to keto. And your body recognizes that. It then will institute a stress-based response to break your fats, your proteins down, and that's the whole idea of keto, is you can become a fat burner. But that's a stress-based response. Your body recognizes that and will shunt its resources, for lack of a better phrase. Hair is simply not one of those necessary things when it's in a stress-based response. Okay, so that's one of the early things that we can see. When I started going down this extremely low carb, extreme diet route, I was probably in my mid 20s. I had experienced health problems, went down this road. My health improved. However, that's when my hair loss accelerated. At the time, I kind of blew it off because mine may be a genetic component. I have a lot of men in my family who are bald. So that may be part of it, but keto definitely contributes to it. So but hair is not necessarily, it's not a necessary thing. Your body has bigger fish to fry. The other thing, like I mentioned, you're going to have macro, so you're eliminating or cutting back carbs, severely protein in some cases. So that's going to lead to nutrient issues down the road. Now, how fast that will happen, it's very patient dependent. Okay, so here's a few things that are going on, a few things that we know about hair loss. First of all, scalp circulation. Okay, we know that in people with a low thyroid and keto, these extreme diets, in my case, contributed to my thyroid problems, many other people as well, is you can see buildup of what are called mucopolysaccharides. And these mucopolysaccharides are kind of in between the cells in your scalp, and they can lead to calcification. In fact, they have taken cadavers that were bald. They took scalp cultures and they exposed those scalp cultures to higher oxygen supply, higher blood supply, and they saw the rate of growth of those cultures increase 80 to 90%. So you want that oxygenation to the scalp. Now, there's a number of ways to get that, but one of which is diet. And how do you do it through diet? Well, you need oxidative metabolism, which is burning glucose, your body's preferred fuel source. It will increase metabolism, it will increase blood flow. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Next is thyroid and hormones. I list these together because they're interchangeable, they work together. For example, we know that in a healthy metabolism, we see good progesterone levels. Progesterone supports metabolism, okay? Now, the other thing, to make progesterone, you need a couple of items. I've done videos on this, so if you want to look those up, but you need cholesterol and you need a healthy thyroid. In particular, you need T3, which is the most active form of thyroid. That helps your cholesterol get into the cell, and then it's converted to pregnenolone and progesterone, and then down the line to all your other hormones. Cholesterol is the building block, but you need a healthy thyroid to get the cholesterol into the cell. Okay, so you make progesterone and pregnenolone. When you have a healthy metabolism, you have the ingredients you need. And when we see high pregnenolone levels or healthy pregnenolone levels, you see healthy hair. And you can look at this and look at any pregnant woman who has a good diet. Many women who are pregnant say, man, my hair is growing like crazy. That's because of pregnenolone. And then they have the baby, they begin breastfeeding, and prolactin levels go up, progesterone drops. Prolactin, you need it. You know, the mother needs to produce breast milk. She needs prolactin to do that. But then that lush hair that they had recedes back, doesn't recede back, but it kind of cools down a little bit. So when we have higher prolactin levels, prolactin's basically a stress hormone, okay? And now let's talk about the other stress hormones. Your stress can be physical and it can be mental or it can be dietary. I've talked about extreme diets. Your body initiates stress responses, stress hormones to deal with the lack of glycogen in the liver, the lack of glucose in the diet, and will make, just like keto espouses, you will become a fat burner, but that's a stress-based response. So it's a stressor. When you have a stressor, we see increased cortisol, we can see increased estrogen, we can see increased 5-HT as serotonin. All these can go up and then they can cause prolactin to go up more. So we have this kind of circular sort of response, stress-based response that is not healthy for hair follicles. I do want to point out that once I switched to more of a diet that's going to support the metabolism, your nails are made out of keratin, as is your hair, which is kind of a protein in the body. I'm clipping my nails. I have to clip them all the time. It seems like my hair loss basically stopped. I can't say that I've regrown a bunch of hair, maybe a little. I was pretty much fully gray. That kind of halted. So there were definite changes that were made, but in my case, I was way down that road. I had been in a state of receding hairline and basically bald for 15 years. So I didn't expect to regrow all my hair, but it's definitely slowed down, halted in some cases, and really notice it in my nails, how fast they're growing now. So the question is, what can you do? If you're keto and you're worried about your hair loss, what are some things that you can do? Number one, focus on some stable blood sugars. And to do that, you'll need to eat more frequently. I got away from fasting. It helped my blood sugars stabilize. I've talked about this before. My blood sugars were back in the diabetic range when I was doing low carb. As soon as I reintroduced carbs, I reintroduced them too fast. But as soon as you do that, the insulin resistance can actually go away and you'll start feeling better. But eat more frequently, eat a balance, stop being afraid of carbohydrates. Okay, that's really important. Stay away from extreme diets, period. But you want to have balanced blood sugars, because if you don't, your body recognizes that again as a stress. It's like, okay, blood sugars are low. We need to kick out some stress hormones to make sugars out of our protein and our fat. That's a stress-based response. Okay, I already mentioned we need to balance the diet. Don't be afraid of carbohydrates. I'm not saying throw a bunch in there, and I'm not saying garbage carbohydrates. Talking ripe fruit, honey, local honey if you can, real maple syrup, some of these things. If you can tolerate them, maybe some potatoes and rice, those sorts of things. Support your liver, your thyroid. The conversion of T4 to T3 takes place a lot in your liver. If you don't have a healthy liver, you're going to struggle with that conversion. What can you do to help the conversion? First of all, ample protein. Even if you were a sedentary woman, I would say get at least 80 grams of protein a day. A sedentary man, at least 100 grams, and then go up from there. You do not have to eat crazy amounts of protein like the bodybuilders recommend. They're like 1 gram of protein a day per pound of body weight. You don't need to go that crazy. I don't find it sustainable, but at least what I mentioned earlier, that 80 to 100 grams of protein, it will support your liver. And biggest thing, make sure it's a varied protein source. You can run into a lot of problems if you're just eating muscle meat. I made a video about muscle meat, the carnivore diet, and some of the problems it caused in me. And so that's something you want to avoid, okay, particularly with your thyroid. So what does varied proteins mean? You want to eat organ meat. Liver is great. Do bone broth. Dairy if you can tolerate it. By the way, if you can't tolerate dairy, that's primarily pointing to a gut issue that we need to get fixed. Oysters, fish, muscle meat is fine. Just don't make it the dominant protein source in your diet, okay? Next, you have to focus on gut health. You want to eliminate, number one, the most important step, eliminate hard to digest things. Again, that's why we want varied protein sources, and some people muscle meat can be hard to digest. leafy greens that are raw, really hard to digest, nuts, seeds, grains. Um, get rid of those things. If you insist on having above ground vegetables, the leafy vegetables, make sure they're well cooked. You're going to find them a lot more tolerable. And besides, things like broccoli and stuff like that are goitrogens, which are not good for your thyroid. So those are things you want to avoid. And then nutrients, you need to keep in mind, like these B vitamins, zinc, magnesium, vitamin D, calcium. These all help your thyroid health, and it's critical that you have these in there because thyroid health is going to be critical to prevent the hair loss. So again, we're coming back to things like liver, oysters, sun exposure for vitamin D. I've done a video on why I stopped supplementing with vitamin D. I try to get it from sun, and when I can't in the winter months, I focus on my diet. I also focus on UV light, um, and then things like dairy. So the bottom line is, guys, yes, I believe keto, I believe any extreme diet is going to contribute to issues, particularly one of those being hair loss. I wish I would have known about these things earlier on. I could have maybe avoided the fate of becoming bald. But again, like I said, my nails grow so much faster now. The hair loss has stopped. Like I said, I caught it way, way, way late. I was this way for well over a decade, but hopefully going through what's happening in your body helps you understand that there's things you can do. One of which is really think if you want to stay on these extreme diets, there's prices that you are going to pay at some point, and hair loss to me is clearly one of them. So let me know in the comments your experience with keto, any hair loss, those sorts of things, anything that um, I said in the video that resonated with you. It's helpful for me to hear your comments. It's helpful for other viewers. Okay. So I appreciate it. Hope the video was helpful. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Thank you.